Welcome back to Cancer Buzz, the podcast of the Association of Community Cancer Centers. I'm your host, Summer Johnson. In this mini episode, we examine the crucial role of the advanced practitioner in the effort to diversify cancer clinical trials. What you need to know is next. In spring 2021, ACCC and Harborside hosted a virtual summit to define the role of oncology advanced practitioners in equitable cancer care delivery. Together, a group of oncology nurse practitioners, physician assistants, oncology pharmacists, physicians, and patient advocates identified the ways that oncology advanced practitioners may be able to impact the advancement of equitable care delivery every single day. The group tackled care coordination and communication, clinical trials, and mitigating implicit bias. Our guest today helped design the summit, and she's here to talk about the leading role advanced practitioners can take in improving clinical trial patient diversity. Colleen Lewis is a nurse practitioner and director of clinical operations for the Phase 1 clinical trial program at Emory Winship Cancer Institute. Colleen, why are advanced practitioners so important to cancer clinical trials?
Advanced practitioners are the primary point of contact for a lot of patients in so many care environments and really have the opportunity to influence the education initiatives, the information available for patients about what trials might even be an option. Many of our patients have not considered that as a treatment approach, and it's really important for us as clinicians to keep that in the top of mind as part of the conversation for patients.
What do you think the role for advanced practitioners is in moving the needle to diversifying clinical trials, particularly in oncology?
I think it's critically important for clinicians to really be aware of the concept of implicit bias as we're assessing patients for trials. If we think about patients who present to clinic who perhaps have reported transportation challenges or work issues, we may in our own mind think, well, they probably can't get on a clinical trial because of the barriers they're experiencing. And if we have more awareness as clinicians that it's incredibly important to make clinical trial part of all of our discussions with all patients. And if there are issues that emerge, then we can help support patients to navigate some of those barriers. But on the front end, we don't want to be selecting out patients who could potentially participate in trials because of our own thoughts on their ability to comply with trials or perhaps even their interest in trials.
Obviously, advanced practitioners, the sole responsibility for diversifying trials doesn't fall entirely on them. That's going to require systemic change. But what would their role be in helping the oncology care team get there?
I think a big role is advocating for more awareness of trial options in the community, building bridges with our community colleagues to better inform them of what trial options are available at different centers so that as they are evaluating patients, they too can begin that conversation at an earlier time point in a patient's treatment journey. I think we can also serve as big advocates for work that's already starting to happen, evaluating eligibility criteria. Do we need to really look at what are some of the criteria we're requiring for clinical trials? Does that inherently exclude large numbers of patients from the beginning? And also, how do we leverage technology? I think one of the pieces of COVID that has been very enlightening, especially in the healthcare arena, is we can really leverage technology in novel, exciting ways that expand access to care for patients. I think specifically in the clinical trial space, we historically have required patients to come physically to a location that's offering a clinical trial for almost every visit, especially in many of our early phase trials. If we can get creative and use telemedicine or other technology initiatives and partner with local community practices to get lab work or other items, we could really move the needle on offering more trials to people who otherwise might not have access to travel long distances to larger academic centers.
Let's talk about the summit for a second that I know that you were involved with, and you helped plan that summit, correct?
Correct.
I understand that at the end of each session, the participants prioritized the focus areas that they're going to need to employ to get to kind of, the ideal practice of clinical trials moving forward. What were some of those that stood out to you that your colleagues said, we need to get on this right away?
One of the common themes we identified was discussion, awareness, education initiatives around implicit bias specific to clinical trials, and really thinking through strategies to help remind clinicians that discussion about clinical trials should happen at every visit. When there is a discussion around treatment options, next steps, how do we really empower our clinician teams to put that on the menu of options for all patients, despite their own thoughts, concerns, reservations, if a patient might be interested or able to participate in a trial. So just starting with something simple like that awareness, that discussion around implicit bias does exist and could play a role in limiting enrollment.
Look for more takeaways from the summit conversations coming soon to the ACCC website. Over the coming weeks, Cancer Buzz will dive into more findings from the Advanced Practitioners Summit with 2 more mini podcasts. If you've been enjoying the Cancer Buzz audio podcast, check out the brand new Cancer Buzz TV channel. There you'll find even more in-depth conversations and topics on the latest trends in cancer care. Just search for Cancer Buzz TV on Apple Podcasts. Until then, for the Cancer Buzz team, this is Summer Johnson.
Cancer Buzz is a resource of the Association of Community Cancer Centers.